Well, here we go. We have one final game of Euro 2024. As this is being recorded, we're at less than 72 hours away from kickoff of the final in Berlin at the Olympisch Stadion between Spain and England. I still can't believe we're at this point, honestly. I went through it in my Euro tonight on Wednesday. The fact that England are here for a second straight tournament, in the way that they've played this tournament, I'm so shocked that we've gotten to this point. I really don't know what to say. This is going to be the biggest challenge of this whole tournament. Spain has been the team this tournament. They've played the best football. They've won the most games. And I mean, I'm already going into it kind of not optimistic, not expecting victory, but I mean, anything can happen in 90 or 120 minutes or penalties. Anything can happen. And I think that's really what this England team is banking on. Anything can happen in this tournament. I mean, the way that they played in the 2020/2021 Euro, I thought they were the better team going into the final. And, it felt like it was a culmination of everything in that final. They obviously go out. They score in the second minute. Luke Shaw puts it in the back of the net. We have to now defend for, 88 minutes. And it was eventually going to break. And, of course, Italy score. Then we go to extra time. Then we go to penalties. And just as you went more and more on, it felt like England weren't going to win it. And, I mean, obviously they didn't. It's going to be interesting to see how this game develops, because this is going to be a completely different matchup from anything that England has faced this tournament. For Spain, I'd almost say the same thing. This is going to be probably one of their most difficult tests. I'd put that up there with the last two matches they've had against France and against Germany. I think those are the two toughest tests they've had so far. I'd put the France game up there first, because they were trailing in that game for, 20 minutes-ish. But, I mean, this will be the toughest test. Just given there's a trophy on the line, it's a European final. You don't know if you're ever getting back to this situation. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. So let's look how we got here. The path to the final. In the group stages, Spain were immaculate. A 3-0 win against Croatia, a 1-0 win against Italy, and a 1-0 win against Albania. Now, you notice there's a lot of nils in those scores. They did not concede a goal until the round of 16, when they defeated Georgia 4-1. And then they defeated Germany in the quarterfinals in extra time 2-1. And then in that semifinal, they defeated France 2-1, and that was in full time. Spain, of course, since they're one of two teams left, they're the only team this tournament that has been absolutely immaculate. Has not lost a game, has not drawn a game. Only team that has happened to this tournament. Now, as I said, England have not been playing well this tournament, and the results show. They only had one win in the group stage, and that was the first game of it, a 1-0 win against Serbia, where they looked good for the first 25 minutes, which culminated in a goal within there. But then as the game went on, Serbia probably could have gotten an equalizer in there, but obviously they didn't. You have a 1-1 draw against Denmark in your second group stage game, where I think they just looked awful for 90 minutes. I'd say the same about the Slovenia game. They looked quite awful in a 0-0 draw over 90 minutes. They get to the round of 16. They're down to Slovakia 1-0 up until the 95th minute, and Jude Bellingham puts it in the back of the net, sends the game to extra time, and Harry Kane scores within the first 2 minutes of extra time, which puts them on to the quarterfinals, where they draw Switzerland 1-1. but win the game 5-3 on penalties, which of course penalties is a huge, huge thing with England being cursed on them. So a win there was huge. And then in that semifinal win against the Netherlands, a 2-1 victory that was won by Ollie Watkins' goal right at the stroke of the 90th minute mark. So both teams have had interesting routes here. Obviously, route-wise, England has had the much easier route. Slovakia, even though it went to extra time, Switzerland, even though it went to penalties, and the Netherlands is, I believe, the much easier path than it was Georgia, Germany, France, just given the absolute powers that you have in Germany and France right there. Now let's take a look at the tail of the tape. As I said, tournament goals, I mean, that's something very important to look at here. Spain has scored 13 goals this tournament compared to only 7 for England. I mean, you saw what I just pulled up. England had 2 goals in the group stage. One against Denmark and one against Serbia. That's it. Obviously, they've somewhat picked up the goal scoring since in the knockout stages, but I mean, it still hasn't been great, hasn't been awful. Spain, they've been scoring all tournament. They don't look like they have a bad day at the office scoring-wise. Clean sheets, as I said, I mean, Spain went clean sheet the whole group stage, so they have 3. England have 2, with 2 of them being in the group stage, the one against Serbia and the one against Slovenia. The top scorers, both of them have 3 goals this tournament, so they are both technically tied atop the Golden Boot standings right now, but it is Dani Olmo that has the tiebreaker, which is assists. So he would technically win the Golden Boot as of this point over Harry Kane, who is the top scorer for England. Squad values, I always like to look at the number. It really doesn't mean anything. Squad value of this Spanish team, £783 million, compared to the 1.25 billion pounds of that England team. Again, I like to look at the number. I don't think it truly tells much because, I mean, English players are very overvalued. I'll just say that. It's 100% true. They're overvalued and overpriced. So that's going to drive that number up. The average age of the squads, Spain sits right around 27 years of age, while England sit 1 year younger at 26. Of course, in their history, Spain has 5 trophies. They, of course, have the 2010 World Cup where they defeated the Netherlands in extra time. They have 3 Euro trophies, including a back-to-back in 2008 and 2012. And most recently, they won the Nations League last year in 2023. Of course, for England, as I'm sure a lot of you know, only 1 trophy, and that is the 1966 World Cup, when they won it on home soil against West Germany in extra time. So, I mean, that gives you kind of a outside look at what we're looking at between these two in this game. Now we get to the actual game itself. Again, this is being filmed little less than 72 hours before kickoff. So I can't say for myself the nerves have kicked in yet. Yes, I can say I've thought about this game since basically full-time whistle against the Netherlands. I mentioned in my preview, if you saw it on the Twitter, for that England-Netherlands game, I was very nervous about it because it's a semifinal. And in the semifinal, you can kind of see that glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, but you're still over 180 minutes plus away from reaching the end of that tunnel. And you have to be perfect for that. Well, England took a big 90-minute step on Wednesday. And so did Spain. They took it on Tuesday. England took it on Wednesday. I think rest may play a little bit into this because obviously you've been dragged out throughout this whole tournament. I think that 1 extra rest day might help Spain here. But getting back to my end of the tunnel, both teams sit 90 minutes-ish because we could go to extra time and then you're 120 minutes away. Both teams sit 90 minutes away from eternal glory no matter what happens. If you're England and you win, you are the first team to win a men's trophy. I will specify because I've already seen the brigade coming out. Well, the woman won the Euro in 2022. Well, yes, they did. But we're talking about the men's game right now. So I do like to make a distinction, though. If England win, this would be the first time a men's team brings football home since 1966. You'll be remembered forever. For Spain, I mean, trophies in back-to-back years. I know people somewhat don't count the Nations League. The Nations League counts. If you win a trophy in back-to-back years, that's huge. And you will be remembered forever for that too. I mean, people keep talking about those 2008 and 2012 Spain teams that won back-to-back Euros. This would be no different with this Spain team. People would talk about the days of the 2024 Spain team that took Germany by storm and won the Euro. And I wonder what kind of pressure that puts on the players. Because for England, of course, 3 years ago, we were in this same spot. None of these players had played in a European or World Cup type final before. And it did seem like that pressure did get to them a bit, especially being at home, all that kind of stuff. Now you have a more experienced squad. You have more experience in these type of games. Does that help? I don't know. Does it just bring back nightmares of 2021? Maybe. I do record this on the 3-year anniversary of that Euro final on the 11th of July, 2021. The jersey's staring at me right now from that night. It's a cruel reminder of how close you were yet so far away. And that's why I like the light at the end of the tunnel analogy, because, I mean, it's just a glimmer of light. You're not, like, it does not feel like you're close to it right now. And I say the same thing for both sides. I'm trying to be fair here because, obviously, this is going to be heavily England, but Spain has been a very good team this tournament. I've loved watching Spain. I think they are very well equipped to win this tournament. Obviously, they only have to win one game, but they're the favorites from the odds makers for a reason. And I mean, I won't say heavy favorites, but they're decent favorites to win. And I can't say I'm not surprised. This England team hasn't played well all tournament. I'll say a bit, it feels like they've got bailed out a few times in the knockout stages. This team feels like it's running on magic right now more than it is talent. And I'm worried about how this game is going to go. Because I obviously, and you, me, and I mean, whoever's watching knows how I want this game to end. I want it to end with England holding up the Euros trophy. But I just don't see it happening. Spain is just so much a better put together team at this whole tournament. And England they haven't had that game where it felt like, wow, that's the England team we've been expecting all tournament. They haven't had that. I'd say they had that at the beginning of those first 25 minutes against Serbia. The first half against the Netherlands. That's about it, honestly. That really does feel about it. But Spain it seems like they've had that it factor all tournament. I do wonder how much pressure, I mean, because I did say Nations League is still a title. And it's big, but it's not the Euros. So as someone like Luis de la Fuente, the manager for Spain, what kind of pressure goes on you as a first-time manager in a major European final? In the Euros final, it's your first time managing on this big of a stage. Because yes, you won the Nations League. That's not as big of a stage as the Euros. The Euros up there with the World Cup. Gareth Southgate has been there before. Obviously, did not end out well. How does that play in for both managers? What I'm interested to see. I'm not expecting major upheaval in the starting 11, but it's when the subs come. Gareth Southgate has had a lot of problems with subbing prior to like the 75th minute mark. Unless like he's kind of forced into it. Like Luke Shaw, he came on at the beginning of the second half in that Netherlands game, and I honestly was quite shocked because Southgate just hasn't made those kind of substitutions coming out of the half this tournament. It's just going to be interesting to see the mental mind games that the managers play. Like I said, I know how I want this game to end, and I'm trying not to let that bias set in. But England, yes, have the better talent on paper, but that talent just really hasn't shown up this tournament. Yes, Jude Bellingham has had his moments in this tournament, but he's also had moments where you're questioning, what are you even doing? Harry Kane, yes, he has 3 goals, but he's basically, when not scoring a penalty or being right in front of the net for a tap-in, he's basically playing central defensive midfielder. I mean, he's playing that far back. As the head striker of this team, you can't be playing that far back. It's tough. It really is tough. I don't truly know what to expect from this game, except that I do think Spain ends up winning it. That's just the way it feels like it's going to go. If England end up winning this tournament, I truly would be quite shocked. I put that run up there with 2016 Portugal of just basically playing disastrous football to get to a final and then winning it. And I honestly feel like that's the only way England win this game is if they really muck it up. And who knows? Maybe they do it. Maybe Southgate finds a way to do it. I think there's another interesting conversation to be had with Southgate there. It does somewhat feel like this is it, most likely. Does that affect Southgate's managing of this game? Is if he already knows in the back of the mind, no matter what, this is it? Because truly, I think if you win and you're Gareth Southgate, you've had questions this whole tournament and even prior to the tournament with like squad selection and all that stuff. If you win this tournament, I mean, that is a crowning achievement. And I think you just step away and say, I've led you finally to the top. It's time for somebody else to take over. And if he loses this game, which I'm expecting, like I said, it's I've led you to the top 2 times, almost 3 or 4 times. It's time for somebody else in a fresh face to step in to try to finally get you over that hump. I think that's the way that this is being played for Southgate right now. That seems like the way it should play out, and that seems like the way it might play out. I find it hard to believe that Southgate, win or lose, will be managing the England squad at the 2026 World Cup. It's just as simple as that. Now, overall, for Spain, like I said, I think they have just the better informed talent right now. Like, Lamine Yamal, the 16-year-old, is just an absolutely insane player. The fact that he's 16 doing this is just bonkers. I will be interested to see how he plays in this game. There have been no bigger lights for him in his lifetime than what will be this Euro final that he will be starting in. It will definitely be interesting to see how the pressure gets to those players. It will be interesting to see how the pressure gets to the England players that know, hey, we were here 3 years ago and we didn't get it done. How are we going to get it done this time? Pressure is a privilege, and pressure can make or break you. That's going to be big for both of these sides come Sunday evening in Berlin. Obviously, it's Sunday afternoon here in America, but it will be, I believe it's 9 p.m. in Berlin is when this game kicks off. So it will definitely be a very intriguing game to see how it plays out. So overall, like I said, I hate to say it, but my official prediction is Spain win the Euros. They probably win it in full time. I'm looking at probably another 2-1 scoreline. If this game goes to extra time, I know Spain will be chasing a goal because they did it against Germany. Germany sat back trying to play for penalties, and that's what England's going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Spain win it in extra time. But if we get to penalties, it will only end in disaster for England. Let's be honest here. This game, no matter what, ending in disaster for England, there's no other way. There is no other way. I don't see it happening. I just don't think it can. So, I mean, there's been a lot of people on this earth, and only a few of them saw 1966. So, I want to see it happen so bad. I don't think it will. So, that's just going to wrap it up for this more longer form preview of this Euro 2024 final. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you just stumble across this video, click like, click subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. We'll, of course, be back to recap whatever happens in this final. Who knows? If England win it, this may just turn into a 1 hour playing of It's Coming Home, even though that would be against copyright still. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you again soon for another episode of Quick Kick Around the Pitch, or whatever it is. We hope to see you there.